6. The meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, and adequate notice of this meeting is provided as required by law. Specifically, notice of this meeting was emailed to the Daily Record and Morris Newsbee on January 13th, 2026, and posted on the Township of Morris website. The agenda and resolutions for the meeting are available on www.morristownship.com under Agenda Center. Certain portions of this meeting may be closed to the public for the purpose of personnel or other matters as outlined in the Sunshine Law. Notice to members of the Planning Board and Township staff, any use of electronic devices during this meeting shall be used solely for the purposes of Township business, and any communications are subject to the Open Public Records Act. Thank you. Could you please rise and join me in this statute? Yes. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. The first order of business is the roll call, right? We have the roll call, right?
Mr. Alesso?
Here.
Ms. Vanwater?
Here.
Mr. Flowers?
Here.
Mr. Rabbit?
Here.
Ms. Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Benoit?
Here.
Mr. Quillen?
Here.
Ms. Corriglia?
Here.
And Mr. Bott?
Yes, here. Okay, first order of business after that then would be the consideration of approval for the minutes for our meeting of February 2nd. I would note that there is an error in the statement of adequate notice for that meeting. I called it, I issued the following statement, not Paul Woodford. So, any other comments or corrections on those for the minutes?
The attempted quote was thwarted.
Oh, it's going to be that kind of meeting, is it?
Okay, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved. Yeah.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One abstain. Joe Lesso.
Okay. Oops. Okay. A resolution, PB 1625 for the Morris Sheriff's Department. That Mr. Want to tee that up for us?
Happy to do so, Mr. Chairman. As always, yes, the Morris County Sheriff's Department, that was the review of the capital project to construct the K-9 facility with associated dog runs, parking areas, and the like in the OSGU, Open Space and Government Use Zone at 540 West Hanover Avenue. The board heard that on February 2nd. Public hearing found unanimously 9-0 that the project was consistent or not inconsistent with the goals and objectives of the master plan, and did not need to make any recommendations to the project. So we have a resolution memorializing same, and as always, I hope it's accurate.
Any comments, questions?
I have a couple of comments.
Yes, Mr. Cohen.
At the bottom of page 1, item number 4, it says Warren County Planning Department.
That should be Somerset County.
Is that right?
Approval of it, yeah. I don't know why, Somerset, excuse me, Morris County.
Thank you.
You had me going there for a second.
Yeah, I'm not
Am I
quite
in the
sure
right
why.
meeting?
Well, okay, we covered 3 out of the 20.
And I have a couple of incredibly picky and little typographical errors to tell you about. Page 4, the item 10, like line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first word is from, but it says form.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then the next page, item 12, little Roman numeral 3. It should say have a floor area,
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, the A.
I'm not quite sure.
No,
Have a floor
that's correct.
area.
There's a space in between
Space
AR.
between
Oh, it's just a,
Space,
yeah,
space,
space,
yeah.
extra space, okay. That's it. Thank you.
We'll get a clean copy. 2 minutes to done. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it was on. We, it is on, is it?
It's on.
Yeah, we caught the, thank you for pointing out those typographical errors, and we'll get a clean copy to Ryan after presumably the resolution will be adopted as amended.
All,
So I move we adopt the resolution.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Can we call the roll?
Mr. Alesso.
I abstain, I was not at the hearing.
Ms. Van Order.
Yes.
Mr. Flowers.
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Ms. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Benoit. Mr. Quillen.
Yes.
Ms. Gariglia.
Yes.
And Mr. Bai.
Yes.
Carried.
I just note, just something occurred to me, my apologies, but I'm just going to double check to make sure that it was the Morris County Planning Department. Because since it's a Morris County project, I'm just wondering if Warren County covered a review. So, but assuming that it's, I'll confirm that it's accurate, that it is Morris and not Warren before we make that final change. But I'll assume the motion, second, and roll call vote gives me that leeway.
Yeah, their,
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
their presentation didn't include a approval by the Morris County Planning.
It was Morris.
Yes.
Okay, then. It was just
Don't
a
remember one from Warren County, but I
Must-
distinctly remember that
must
yeah,
have
they
just
did
been
have.
a typo
Yeah,
there.
okay. But still, check.
We will double check.
Okay. Okay, moving on to our public hearings. We have a public hearing on the adoption of our amended fourth round housing element and fair share plan.
Mr. Chairman, while that's
Yes,
happening,
please do.
happy to give it the legal tee up if you'd like.
Yes, please do.
Sure. No, as the board is aware, and we just did this, seems like a lot longer than 8 months ago about, but it was June of 2025. We adopt all elements of the master plan, including the housing element fair share plan that was adopted back in June, and there's very modest changes to it, as we'll hear from our planner for this public hearing to adopt the amended housing element fair share plan for the fourth round. It is a public hearing. I'll be swearing in Ms. Laney, our planner, and anyone who wishes to make comment and/or question this evening with respect to the adoption of the housing element fair share plan. All the requisite notices were provided. Notice of the hearing was published in a newspaper of general circulation in the municipality at least 10 days prior to this evening. In fact, it was the Morristown Daily Record and the Star Ledger both on February 20th. Copies of the draft amended housing element and fair share plan were sent to the State Office of Planning Advocacy, the Morris County Planning Board, and all adjoining, the clerks of all adjoining municipalities adjoining the perimeter of our municipality. On February 19th, all of that was sent in accordance with the municipal land use law by certified mail. And therefore, all the procedural requisites have been satisfied for us to have this public hearing this evening. I do also have a resolution that can be utilized to facilitate the adoption of the amended housing element and fair share plan at the conclusion of the hearing, if that is the desire of the board to do so, and that's been distributed in advance of today, although a revised version was sent this morning just for the board members with a couple of typos that I caught. Hopefully I caught them all, as well as some supplemental information because we have since the adoption of our housing element fair share plan for the fourth round in June, we have had mediations with the Affordable Housing Dispute Resolution Program, and we have recently received, I'm pleased to say, as the board knows, a recommendation from the program judge, as well as now on February 5th, as well as now on February 24th, an order of the Mount Laurel judge, all approving our housing element and fair share plan for the fourth round, and notwithstanding challenges to same having been successfully addressed. And the board will recall that back in June, we were able to report that our fourth round prospective need obligation, our number, which was originally set by the State Department of Community Affairs at a number of 571 affordable units for the 10-year period for the fourth round. What we were able to reduce that number to 375 units, almost a 200-unit reduction. And since we adopted the plan, and now we're in a position to, with a very minor change, adopt an amended plan. So, as usual, I'm talking more than enough, and I'm the opening act. Our main attraction is seated to my right, so with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I can swear in our planner, Liz Laney, and she can make the presentation with respect to the amended fourth-round housing element fair share plan.
Before we do that, just a little note on procedure. We're going to turn it over to Ms. Laney, who will be giving us the presentation on the fair share. Then we can ask the board to ask questions and discuss and then following that, we will open it up for public comment or public questions and comment. And we will combine those tonight because they tend to bleed together often anyways. So just for the sake of expediency, public, any questions or comment about this will be made after the board has a chance to ask some questions.
And it's a very, very, very reasonable approach. I find that it helps members of the public not having to worry about it, asking a question versus making a comment. I could swear everyone in, and they're free to ask questions, comments, and mix them together, and we'll attempt to do our best to answer all the questions.
Okay.
So with that, I'll swear in. Ms. Laney, do you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And I'm not going to voir dire her qualifications as a professional planner. I'm more than qualified to be a such might. I suspect the planning board as well. So,
Okay.
Liz.
All right. Thank you, Steve. So I'm just going to actually step back because I think something that is important to know about this fourth round housing element process, and it's something that has just become an issue in every single town, is the absolutely accelerated pace and deadlines that we have been required to meet as part of the amended Fair Housing Act. So just to, certain things that maybe in the past, if all things being equal, if we could spend months and gather more input and et cetera, have more presentations, I think that's all preferable. But we are in the law mandated to meet these certain deadlines. And it's been that way since, the amended Fair Housing Act was adopted in March 2024. Our numbers came out October 20th, 2024, and it's been a mad dash, ever since. So I just want to point out that we didn't get, as Steve said, we did very well with our numbers, that we had 571, which was, obviously not something we could live with. That's what the state had initially assigned us. And we had, that was in October 2024. We had till the end of January to counter that. And then there was a month lag for objectors to come forward, which they did. So that was, essentially as of March 1st, 2025. In March 2025, we spent a time haggling in front of the program judges as to what our number was. We finally, by April 1st, got our number down. Then we were required to adopt a housing plan and fair housing element and fair share plan by June 30th, 2025. And while that seems like, oh, you had 3 months, well, you don't, because you have to figure out what your plan is based on what your number is, figure out your approach, and then you have to prepare the plan, and then it has to get noticed. And then, the notice then obviously comes before the board. So in essence, we had a busy April and May figuring out how we were going to address our plan. We came before this board with our plan, which I will just, you can see this on the screen. So essentially, one thing that we were able to do, which I think Steve mentioned, which is that we, to the extent possible, tried to maximize our two things. One is extensions of affordability controls, which of course is extending how long, the existing affordable housing units in Morris continue to be affordable for another 30 or 40 years. I can't remember what, I think it's just 30. But so that obviously those are not new units. It's not new construction. So to the extent that we could avail ourselves of those extensions, we did. The other thing that we tried to do was to maximize our bonuses. So, under the Fair Housing Act, you're allowed to, for certain types of development, seek bonus credits, which of course are not actual units as well. So, we had in a few of our projects that we have in our plan, it has to do with the fact that they're redevelopment areas, or that they're the redevelopment of existing commercial sites, or they're close to transit. And so that allowed us to get some bonus credits. We also had one group home, which of course is done by the bedroom, the unit count, so it's not an actual unit. So all that said, when we presented the plan that was adopted by this board in June, we had 121 extensions of affordability controls. We had 94 bonuses, which is the maximum bonuses we could have, because you're maxed out at 25% of your obligation, so 25% of 375, and that got us to 387. And so we had to only get to 375, so we thought, well, that's a kind of healthy 12-unit surplus that we can carry forward to the next round. As Steve mentioned, we received objections from several parties on the plan and wound up in front of the program judge throughout the fall. And one thing that we sort of agreed to eventually was that we were being a little aggressive with our bonus credits with the extensions of affordability controls. And one of that was that you really can only take those if there are rental projects, and most of the extensions are actually ownership. So we conceded that point, but in order to make up the units, let me just say this. There were, I would like to say, 170 some odd units that were eligible to have extensions of affordability controls. And Aaron Wilson did a tremendous job, because when we came into the plan, we thought we were being aggressive with 121. Or 121, and initially, and we thought, okay, that's pretty good. We wound up getting almost 170. So we had these extra extensions that we were able to draw from and borrow from. So when we were lost those bonus credits, we were able to draw from more extensions. You're going to ask, well, why didn't you use all the extensions? And partly that was because I think we're discouraged from that by the program judge, that was sort of not meeting maybe and Steve, you can back me up, the Mount Laurel doctrine intent by not creating, to relying too much on extensions. However, it's my firm belief that we will be able to take those extensions in the next round, which will begin in 2035. And for sure, there will be a next round. The change between the June 2025 plan and what you have before you now is simply that change. It's getting rid of those 25 bonus credits and adding, as I said, there was a 12-unit surplus. So we had to, if you can follow the math, we had to make up 13 units. So we added 13 additional extensions of the controls, and now we're at the 375. And so we're not taking any, bonus or extra credits into the next round. We don't show that on the table, but we do know that we have these additional extensions of control, which hopefully, and I think we will be able to use in the next round. So that is really, I think, in essence, the change from what was adopted in June.
If I could
Yeah.
ask Ms. Laney some questions and maybe some clarifying questions. Well, first of all, the benefit, for everyone's benefit, the extensions of affordability controls are existing affordable units that have 30-year deed restrictions, meaning they must remain affordable for 30 years. Those 30-year periods had or were about to expire, and therefore we were able to get 1 unit credit for extending each and every one of those another 30 years without having to construct any further affordable units for those credits. And we were so aggressive, there was an argument that you could take some bonus credits, but Liz is correct, that indeed that's true for rentals, but not necessarily for owner-occupied, and these units were owner-occupied, so we did have to back off that aggressive position. And take 25 of our extensions of affordability controls and trade them for 12. Take 25 of our bonus credits and trade them for 13 additional extensions of controls. Other than that, this is the plan that was adopted back in June. And am I correct, Ms. Laney, that by this plan, out of the 375 units, 134 are extensions of affordability controls and 69 are covered by bonus credits. 134 plus 69, I'm going to do the hard math, the old-fashioned way here. I believe that is that 203 units of the 375 units are actually not requiring additional construction.
That's correct.
Okay, and in fact, some of the units themselves are not units, but they are bedrooms. For example, the bedrooms in the supportive housing for 4 Old Turnpike Road, correct?
Correct.
And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess 5 actual developments that would comprise the portion of the 4th round that is going to involve either inclusionary housing or supportive housing, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's in the chart that we're looking at now. This is the updated version. The only difference from the 4th round being the additional extensions of affordability controls and less bonus credits for those affordability controls, correct?
That's right.
And is it your professional opinion, as an expert professional planner, that indeed pursuant to this housing element and fair share plan, same will guide the use of lands in the township in a manner which protects public health and safety and promotes the general welfare in accordance with Section 28 of the Municipal Land Use Law?
Yes.
And is it your professional opinion as a professional planner that this plan is designed to achieve access to affordable housing to meet the township's 4th round Mount Laurel constitutional affordable housing obligation, and it considers the lands that are most appropriate for the construction of low and moderate income housing in accordance with Section 310 of the amended Fair Housing Act?
Yes.
And that is all I have. If you have anything further.
No, I'm happy to take questions from the board. Thank you.
Any questions? It's in order.
Yes,
Please go.
thank you. This is really complicated, and I don't know how you manage doing this. So just to reiterate, so I can be sure I understand, you got almost 170 of the eligible for extension owners to agree to that.
There's compensation paid in the.
I understand that. Yeah, I'm aware. And which is great. That's phenomenal. And so you used of those approximately 170, 134 in your revised.
Correct.
Okay, so you have a 36 bank for future.
Right.
Okay. And that just was essentially a trading of what had been bonus credits are now these
Extensions.
extensions.
Correct.
So there isn't really any change to the development numbers.
That is 100% accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
The only thing I would ask, clarifying caveat is, we're not saying we have another 36 or 37 banked, but there are some banked.
Yes, up to, or whatever.
Any other questions? Mr. Cook?
I have a question. So the judge was uncomfortable allowing all the bonus credits that the township had asked for, but perhaps the law specified that he should have he or she should have allowed?
No,
Their
no.
credits?
I think the idea was, there was some debate as to whether you could take bonus credits for extensions on ownership units, or if it had only to be rental. And I think that we were aggressive because there was some debate about it.
It's a new law and it's
Ambiguity?
arguably subject to interpretation.
Okay.
But I think when push came to shove and we had objectors who said, no, the letter of the law, you can't do this. And so at that point, we said, all right, we have these additional extensions. We can use those in place of the 25.
But nevertheless, Ms. Laney, am I correct that we still maxed out, so to speak, on the credits that we took?
We certainly did on it. To whatever we were eligible for, we took it.
So in 10 years' time, if the law doesn't change, which I know is a big assumption, there would be additional credits that we would have available to use in the next round?
I think so, yes, absolutely. Yes. I mean, we had these extensions and they should be counted. Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Do we have any more affordable units that will be losing their controls in the next 10 years?
That's a question.
Not tremendously relevant to this discussion, but
Given that
I don't-
the vast majority, as I recall, came about roughly 30 years ago in the 80s or so, 80s and 90s.
30 years ago is the 90s.
Yeah, I know. There was wishful thinking on my.
It was the late 90s.
yeah, Mr. Alesso.
So just so I can understand the magnitude of this, you basically were able to negotiate down over 170 units. Is that my math right?
From the original number?
575? Yeah.
134.
The original number was from 571 to 375. So our number was actually four shy of 200, right?
Yeah.
196.
Yes, we were able to get it down to 196.
So we have to theoretically build
One-
over the next 10 years, 375 affordable units.
We have 375 credits, because affordable housing is done in credits. So 375 was our prospective need obligation, our number, for all intents and purposes, from July 2025 to June 30, 2035. And that 375, as you see on the chart, of credits is made up of, and I can't see that far, but
okay.
of 134 extensions of affordability controls, 69 bonus credits, which I did the math before, I have to do it again. It's just over 200, right? 203 or something, that are credits that do not require additional construction in our township. And the balance, which is less than half of the 375, right? 172, if I recall correctly, is thankfully the memory still works, even though the eyes don't. 172 would be actual units or bedrooms to be created to cover the 10-year period obligation. And I would say again, to remind everyone, that is without a vacant land adjustment, meaning that this plan, as you'll recall from June, this housing element and fair share plan is such that the entire prospective need obligation for the next 10 years is satisfied. So that no one can come in and say, well, wait a minute, you have a vacant land adjustment, there's more room, there's what we used to call an unmet need, they still do, we don't have to worry about that. And I want to build X number of units here and you have to let me. So that cannot happen under this mechanism if it's adopted as such and the ordinances are adopted.
So we have to build 172 units, among these 7 projects. What happens if for some reason one of these projects, I mean, it sounds like these are locked in that the owners of the land have agreed at some day to, I guess what I'm getting at is if like the project, just picking one, there's that tea shop, I think it's 8 units. What happens if the tea shop decides they don't want to move forward?
I can answer in two ways.
I mean, do they have to move forward? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
trying to understand.
Our obligation as a municipality is to provide a realistic opportunity for low and moderate income housing. We can't force people to build things. What was that movie with the baseball movie with the, if you build it, they will come? Well, this is sort of that
Build their
if you
dreams.
provide the realistic opportunity, you have satisfied your obligation.
Okay.
There's a reasonable expectation they will come and build it. But if they don't, there is auditing procedures whereby there's a 5-year midpoint review. Those of us who recall the third round, there was a midpoint review as well, where we check in and see and provide information to see where we are along in the process. But for now, we are able to maintain our immunity from builder's remedy lawsuits, people forcing us in our township to build things in locations of their choosing, not ours, in densities and heights of their choosing, not ours. We are protected from that, and that's a critical component of this process. So with this plan, and I want to be clear, the program judge, who was the former Mount Laurel judge for this vicinage, approved it and recommended it, and the current Mount Laurel judge ordered it, approved it and ordered this plan, recognizing and specifically stating in the order that we will continue to have our immunity from builder's remedy suits, presumably for the next 10 years, so long as we adopt this housing element and fair share plan, and ultimately the governing body adopts the ordinances implementing these mechanisms that you're seeing on the chart for providing that realistic opportunity for that affordable housing.
So I just have one more question. Maybe it's for Mr. Chairman. So our role here tonight is to, I've been asleep, I guess. I've missed a couple of meetings because of conflicts. So I just want to understand again what
Our role on this is to approve the amendment to the amended plan that we originally approved last June.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Rabbits.
I just have a quick comment. I just want to underscore what our attorney has said about builder's remedy. He spoke eloquently about it. I just want to underscore the fact that the township retains control over the projects. The ball is in our court, as opposed to having it in some builder's court to telling us where they're going to build, how they're going to build, and what, and the township having very little say in it. So this plan really is in the township's favor to continue to move forward with. And I want to thank all the professionals for all their diligent work on this to keep the township from being subject to builder's remedy.
Well, and I would add to that too, it's not just that the township wouldn't have very much say, but the township would be spending money, right, in court, going against what we didn't have a lot of say
Good point.
on too. So there's more than that.
And I would say, if I may, these projects, many developers came looking to build many units in our township. Proofs in the pudding that we're doing a good job when everyone wants to be here and build here. But so many that there were developers who did not get to be in the plan. There were developers who challenged and fought to the bitter end to be in the plan that did not get in the plan. And every developer that is in this plan sought more units than they got in this plan. And so there was negotiation, there was litigation within the Affordable Housing Dispute Resolution Program, which is part of the court. There was mini litigation, if you will, that took place. This was the product of all of that, with the understanding that the loss of our immunity from builder's remedy was always hanging over our head like the sword of Damocles. So the sword has not fallen, and we've all
In the administrative changes that we'll be looking at later, including the state law, developer who comes before us now, are they required, and I can't remember what it is, but over a certain size, they are required to include affordable housing.
That's right. And
But
yeah.
that is all under our current zoning, whatever it else.
Correct.
We don't have to modify anything to allow that. They have to modify their plans to fit the affordable housing into whatever they want to do in the existing zoning and planning, or
That's
whatever we say.
That's right. That
Okay.
was a condition of the third round settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing Center before the court, that we had to have what's called a mandatory set aside,
Right.
that 5 or more new units, then the affordability requirement was kicked in. And that is maintained in what you have before you tonight. It's part of, again,
Right.
it's really state law in many respects.
Yeah, I don't know that there's many, if any, municipalities at this point that don't have that township-wide mandatory set-aside ordinance. And in fact, some in the fourth round had to increase their set-asides associated with those third-round township mandatory set-aside ordinances. We did not.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Flowers.
So the 172 actual units that are going to get built, the majority of those are going to be owner occupied, correct?
Yes, that is the expectation at this time. That's what we have in our plan. One thing to I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off your question,
No.
but one thing to note is when it comes to zoning, you can't require rentals or ownership. And so we have it right? It's sort of you can't do it. So this is our expectation based on what we anticipate.
Okay.
But we can't put anything in the zoning say you have to do ownership or you have to do rentals.
That's helpful. Okay,
Can
so
you-
this is kind of based on what the developers have indicated what they would do.
Correct.
Okay. And any idea the breakdown between sales and rentals, what's anticipated for the development at 60 Columbia Road?
Yes. So of the 84 units, one thing I should note is that there's a requirement that at least 25% of your obligation has to be met through through rentals. And then at 50% of that has to be family rentals.
Okay.
And so we had the 5 bedrooms at Old Turnpike. So that was, we had to reach the number of 76 because that was 25% of 375.
Okay.
And so we had the 5 at Old Turnpike, but those are special needs, so they're not family units. And so in the end, we wound up doing a little bit of trading. And of the 84 units at 60 Columbia, hold on, let me just get it right. Okay, 72 are family rentals, and the remaining are ownership.
Just 12. Okay.
Yes, yeah, and honestly, that was so that we could meet our 76 unit requirement.
Thank you.
And on that development, will the balance of the market rates all be ownership, or will it be mixed as well? Or is that an unknown?
I'm not sure. Is it? No, I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. I think that probably the townhomes generally are more likely to be ownership, and multifamily apartments generally are more likely to be rental, but I can't promise either way.
Now, as I recall, all of these, other than Old Turnpike Road, they're all 20% set aside except for Columbia, which is 22%. I
That's
believe?
correct, yes.
Okay, so you manage, okay. Any other questions?
I have a
Yeah,
couple of
Mr. Cole.
questions. So I'm confused about the distinction between rental and ownership and what we can specify. Because you said that in the zoning, we can't say what the we can't specify that there's a certain minimum or maximum for rental versus ownership. But we do specify townhouses versus multifamily. And there's some kind of belief that there'll be a correspondence there.
I'm saying that just based on experience, that often it's not a hard and fast rule. You can have townhomes that are for rent, and you certainly can have apartments that are ownership. But that's just what we've seen typically, is that apartments tend to be more rental oriented and townhomes tend to be more ownership.
Which makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But the township has an obligation to have a certain percentage of the affordable housing be rentals.
Yes.
But we have no way of enforcing that.
I see what you're saying.
In our ordinances.
Well, that's true, actually. That's a good point. It's not in the ordinance, but I think that it's in this plan, and I believe it would be in a redeveloper's agreement, because we've gotten certain representation from that prospective developer that they would do this certain amount of rentals.
Would that come before the planning board when the final plans are being submitted?
Yes, it would come before this board. You would see that.
Okay, so at the time the planning board reviews the plan, we could enforce a requirement.
Yes.
Okay.
And if I may, that's an excellent point, Committeeman Rabbits, that I neglected to mention, and that is that, as this board knows, this is the housing element fair share plan phase, so to speak. Ultimately, there'll be ordinances that are adopted by the governing body. Then things that are aspirational, so to speak, and only as detailed as an ordinance is, once adopted, will ultimately become plans, site plans. And that's when our role as a planning board continues in the context of applications for development, and the details come into play. And elevations and renderings and site plans, et cetera. And we hear those. We have public hearings again on those applications down the road. So we shouldn't lose sight of where we are in the context of the process.
I have a couple of questions. I don't know if this is the right time for these questions, but I have a couple of questions about the resolution that we would pass approving the housing element and fair share plan. In the draft resolution, there's some interesting history, new history that went into the most recent draft of this. So I was glad to read this. At the bottom of page 3 and continuing on to page 4, it says, the Mount Laurel judge entered an order on February 24th, 2026. And then it mentions, as you continue on to the next page, that thereafter the court shall schedule a fairness and/or compliance hearing to consider approval of the amended fourth round housing element and fair share plan. So I was confused as to what that is.
Excellent question, and kudos for picking up that the fine tuning of that wording, because it came out of the order, and while the process is new because it's an amended Fair Housing Act and it's a new process that's been established, really what's anticipated is a fairness or a compliance hearing. At that point, for the court to make sure that we did everything we were supposed to do between the time of the recommendation and the order and getting our certification of compliance, which is the document that memorializes the fact that we continue to have our sacred immunity from builder's remedy lawsuits. For example, what's anticipated is, has the planning board adopted the housing element fair share plan? Has the governing body adopted the implementation ordinances? Has the governing body adopted the resolutions associated with the administrative functions such as the spending plan, the the affirmative marketing plan, et cetera, et cetera. So each step of the way, even with the court's order that just came out only a week or so ago, it's part of a continuum and contingent on continued compliance. So that's what's anticipated. It is not anticipated that the same judge who approved and ordered us to do all this would turn around and decide something different. It's not anticipated, but one never counts one's chickens until they've hatched and maybe walked around a little bit.
That's helpful. And this is not a doorway for objectors to come in the process. It's just a check to see that the township has taken the steps that it's required to take.
That's absolutely the position I would take as your affordable housing counselor, yes.
All right, thank you. I have one more question here, which is maybe not a very intelligent question. The planning board hereby adopts the amended fourth round HE FSP. So when we adopt it, does that mean it's part of the master plan? It's a section of the master plan, correct?
It is.
So then the next thing we do is we turn around and we decide whether the ordinances are in accordance with the master plan. And it's this, okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure I understood that right.
Yes, but what I will talk about at that time is also the earlier documents that were done on a more township-wide basis, the reexamination master plan, that it's sort of a continuum. But yes, it is. And just by virtue of the timing and the deadlines and the way that affordable housing works on these 10-year schedules, it is an element of the master plan, but it almost never becomes part of a general master plan. I mean, just logistically, it almost, I mean, in most times when I have done general master plans, we say when it comes to the housing element, this is provided under separate cover, because it's the timing never seems to work.
In our case, the timing might be a little better.
Right.
However, we don't need to incorporate this whole thing in the master.
Chairman, I have one question.
Yes.
Along those lines, and I want to commend you on the fair share plan. I just think that you guys did a fabulous job, and I think we all agree with that, but I don't know whether I've said that. But you all know that I have some concerns about the planning portion, the master planning portion. And I feel like perhaps we could have done more. I'm not really sure. And Liz, it gets to what you just said, where it's kind of disconnected. Because I guess my question is, if we begin to do a revised master plan now, and let's pick something stupid out for argument's purposes. Let's just say in our new housing element, all homes have to resemble, Revolutionary War facades to represent the 250-year anniversary of that requirement would not apply to these projects that we're preparing now, right?
That's right, because the ordinances are going into place now. What you probably saw in the ordinances, what we'll talk about next, references to the design guidelines in the code that are existing. So there is an expectation that they will have to meet those design guidelines that exist as of today. But anything that, let's say, gets incorporated into the code in a year, 2 years, no. I mean, unless it would be hard to do that unless there was some reason that they came back to the board for something and we said, oh, while you're here, we're going to, request that you do this or require it even.
So then the architectural design standards, they would have to be incorporated into these projects,
They
right?
are incorporated by reference, yes.
Okay.
They will have to address it.
I wanted to be clear on that.
And the prospective developers are all very well aware of that.
Okay. All right. So our chance to input planning ideas as a planning board for these projects really don't come to play until we have site plan proposals. And we're limited by what we can
require based upon our existing master plan,
Yeah, and your,
plus the zoning.
in your existing zoning, really,
Right.
yes.
Right. Now, the zones in here, like I noticed the one on Madison Avenue has a 20-foot frontage on Madison Avenue. Am I wrong about that? I mean,
I don't know.
how was that decided and how does that fit into the planning board master plan portion of what we're talking about?
Do you want to?
Because it seems to be a 20-foot on off of Madison Avenue for a
Well,
3-story building is a lot, is not much.
Two things, and Ms. Lane, please correct me if when I'm wrong. The first, we're probably morphing into the master plan consistency review and ultimately the adoption of specific ordinances. But notwithstanding that, our professional planners, our township's professional planners, were intimately involved in the process of addressing the ordinance adoption, the ordinance drafting, obviously, which was a combination of developer requests and ultimately determinations made by our professional planners who were steadfast in their positions. I know that firsthand, having observed it. Planning has taken place even in the context of the bulk standards that have been, and obviously site context, site surroundings, etc. But I'm actually morphing from lawyer's role to planner's role, and I'm starting to use terms that I didn't learn in law school. So I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Laney to correct me where I'm wrong and maybe supplement.
I think one thing that we have to keep in mind, or you have to keep in mind as a board, that the law requires that you create a realistic opportunity. And if we said we had or not even design standards, setbacks, heights, whatever, limitations that the developer could never meet, and we said, well, that's what we're comfortable with, but that they would object. And they would probably object to this plan, and they would probably object to whatever ordinance we tried to adopt. And I think the courts generally would side with them.
You don't get away with it.
Yeah. So I think this may not be solace to you, but perhaps it is, which is, these are not zone-wide changes. This isn't everything on Madison Avenue is now going to be 20 feet.
Right.
And so it is sort of very specific, and the law, the affordable housing law, and the state constitution is very much on the side of, is this realistic? Is it going to happen?
It's going to be a big change. I mean, right now it's 3.5 stories and it's 100 feet back.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be on the road. So people are going to notice. I guess my concern is, and I think a lot of people on the board have a similar concern, but we don't have to do about it, is what have we done to prevent another Colgate type development?
I'm sorry, another way.
Colgate type development. It's hard to go past there and think that I'm really proud of that development.
Well,
I mean, and you look at Honeywell, you're going toward Morristown on Columbia Turnpike, you're turning left, and you see that hill, which could have been really, really nice. And it is what it is. So my concern is what's been done here, or what can we do in the future to be sure that these projects are something we can be proud of. And we can say, yeah, we were on the board at the time, and we were happy to approve these projects and happy for what they look like in our township, and they're going to really be an asset to our town. And I don't see where Colgate in particular, but for me personally, the Honeywell project development are what they could have been. And I'd like to know what we've done so far, what we can do in the near future on these projects to be sure that we can be proud of those developments when they're done.
I mean, I haven't answered you on All right, what I would say is this is really when your review at site plan comes into play, because I think we can only do so much through zoning. We have, we have the design guidelines, we have standards that we think will work for these sites, but I think when it comes to what will this actually look like, what is the landscaping around it, what materials are being used, what is the architectural treatments, that's before you. And so I think that is where your determination and your involvement will be critical.
Well, that's great, because I was thinking if we had that sort of language in the housing element, then they would go into the project knowing we're looking for that and that it's required.
It is in the ordinances, and what we made clear, if this is any consolation to you, which is that we would make them do similar to what we've done with other developers, which is you have to go through all of our design guidelines, and if you can't meet something, you have to explain it. Why?
I would like to do more. I would like to see renderings of what they're proposing in advance so that we can make comments early on. I mean, what have you done? Show us, let me go to your development over there and see what you've done. Tell us what you've done over there. I want to go over and look at that and get an idea of what it is they're proposing. So we don't have to wait until there's a plan in front of us and it's almost like too late.
Well,
Is that even possible? I've been told we can't do that.
a couple of things. Number one, there will be a site plan application process and the ability to do quite a bit, including see what developers have done elsewhere and weigh in to a degree, number one. Number two, though, and this is the harsh reality. That's life gives us plenty of harsh reality, right? The mandate constitutionally and from our legislature in the amended Fair Housing Act has a fair amount of restrictions on municipalities. That other sword of Damocles hanging over our head, the flip side, half empty, half full, is the builder's remedy lawsuit. If you don't do what you might not want to do, candidly, you're going to get something you want even less, or that's even worse. And apropos of what Ms. Laney was saying before, also, things not only must be realistic, providing a realistic opportunity for low and moderate income housing, but also things may be viewed as cost generative or difficult or expensive, and that is something that municipalities are prohibited from imposing upon developers of affordable housing, including inclusionary housing, meaning, roughly 1/5 affordable, 4/5 or less. So no one wants to hear that. I don't want to hear that. And we all have the right to speak to our legislators if we don't like it. But it is what it is, and we have to, as a municipality, work within those restrictions, because if we don't, the alternative is worse.
Look,
That's a reality.
I'm sure there are many things that we cannot do. But what I think we should do is focus on things that we can do.
Absolutely.
I mean,
And-
I think we have to take advantage of this window of not having threat of builder's remedy overhead.
Right.
As we move into the master plan, taking a hard look at the master plan to
Right.
make sure that we can put what we want in that to
Right.
prevent, to guide the
Absolutely.
kind of development we
So
want
let's
for the
follow
other
that.
areas that are
Not that.
likely to be developed in the coming future, in the near
Right.
future. In the same
Right,
way.
so I'm making a distinction between that, which I can't disagree,
Yeah.
can't agree anymore. But I'm looking at what the possibilities are for these projects.
Yeah.
And, it concerns me because I feel like we stepped in too late. Maybe we should have done master plan revisions 2 years ago, and we would have perhaps more vision and goals, municipal objectives, and forward-thinking ideas on development for future development, which would have included these. But they don't.
If it's any solace, respectfully, I don't believe it would have changed things.
Okay.
If
Is that a reflection on Liz and us, or is that a reflection?
Oh, my God.
No, I mean,
Those are fighting words. No, I tend to agree with Steve in this sense. These sites are all unique and individual their own way, and 3 of them are redevelopments of office buildings that I think had we been doing a master plan, we may not have anticipated that these sites were going to be before us, and so it's hard to anticipate with what is going to come, who's going to come to you and say, I have a site and I want to redevelop it.
And that's a good.
And I
point, if
think you'd
may.
also have to plan on that based on some idea of the numbers of affordable housing you were going to have to generate. And your plan that you would come up with, if it turned out to be something like 571, would be significantly different than this.
Absolutely. And Liz raises another good point. Redevelopment of office buildings, we're talking about structures that presently exist. This is not all vacant land. So not only do you have the inherent benefit, in my opinion, of developing land that's already developed, albeit in a different way, it's a adaptive reuse, as they like to say, and that's true. But also such redevelopment, small r, not big R, sometimes big R too, but just redevelopment of or adaptive reuse of structures for a different purpose here, multifamily or other housing, you actually get more bonus credits for those types of projects, which again, we availed ourselves of the maximum we could in that sort of credit matrix, the matrices of hitting the maximums, the minimums, and maximizing all the bonuses you can get. So it's a good plan.
Well, again, I mean, you've done a great job with the fair share plans. I have nothing to say about
Just
that.
one
I just
final-
want to just kind of restate something I thought I heard earlier, that there were meetings that were taking place with the developers who ultimately submitted, desires to build, that some of these standards have already been discussed with them and they're aware of many of them.
They're aware of all of them that are in the ordinance, in the draft ordinance.
So to your point, Mr. Benoit, it's not like they're totally,
Yeah, don't have.
oblivious to
No, of
what
course
the
not.
township is looking for, and that, ultimately what comes before this board, we will decide, what is conforming and what is not, and what we'll approve and what we won't. But in the meantime, do they have a good idea of what they think is going to get approved?
Yeah, just one final thing is that the law also changed in March of 2024 and significantly. And so even, again, had we started the master plan process earlier, it's possible the rug could have been pulled out from under us in terms of what we were contemplating.
There are a lot of really nice developments out there.
I agree.
I hope that we get some of them.
I think we will.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions?
I noticed that she said one final thing, so I think she was
That
trying
was-
to wrap it up.
Well, except, okay, seeing
I heard
nothing else
that.
from here, I guess we will now open it up to public questions and comments. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this, on the adoption of the amended fourth round housing element? Yeah, whatever it is.
A couple of mouthfuls.
Yeah,
You got it.
HE, yeah. Okay, I guess seeing none, I guess we will close the public comment period then. And I would entertain a,
Mr. Chairman, this question.
yes,
Are we moving forward with looking at the agenda? The agenda has other matters, master plan, consistency review, and then it lists a whole bunch of ordinances.
yes.
So are we going to go through these individually, or can we make a motion to approve them all at once?
We have to do the approvals one by one. Liz will be discussing them in block, but we do have to go through one by one on the approvals.
Thank you.
Okay.
So are you looking for a motion?
Yes, I am looking for a motion.
I move that we approve the amended March 2026 fourth round plan.
And would I be correct that that would include adopting the resolution, doing same?
And adopting the associated resolution. Thank you.
I'll second that motion. Joseph Valesso?
I have one change to suggest for the resolution, which is to change how Ryan Kirkpatrick's last name is spelled at the bottom.
What,
Thank you.
The resident grammarian.
You don't miss anything, do you?
Very
Probably a
good.
school teacher.
At least he
With a
didn't
red
spell it
pen,
Paul
right?
Woodford.
Bad reputation.
Okay, would you call a roll?
Roll call.
Please.
Mr. Alessa?
Yes.
Ms. Van Order?
Yes.
Mr. Flowers?
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz?
Yes.
Ms. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Benoit?
Yes.
Mr. Quillen?
Yes.
Ms. Coriglia?
Yes.
Mr. Bai?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Moving on to our other matters, which are the master plan consistency review of the zoning and land development ordinances which are associated with this. Now, these are not public hearing. This is just amongst ourselves a review and a review of their consistency with the master plan, much of which we just approved. So, Mr. Warner, would you kind of kick this off for
Very
us?
quick opening act.
Oh, sure.
Quick being a relative term, Mr. Chairman. But yes, this is, as we have done many, the Master Plan Consistency Review on referral from the governing body on February 7th. Oh, I'm sorry, was it February 18th? February 18th. We introduced, the governing body did, these 8 ordinances, which are affordable housing implementation ordinances. One of them is a somewhat administrative ordinance based on a model affordable housing ordinance and development fee ordinance. The others relate to the various projects. We are going to hear from Ms. Laney as to whether they are consistent with the master plan. In fact, in anticipation of them being affirmatively consistent with our master plan, we did away this time with the dreaded double negative and went right with the affirmative consistent. It's aspirational. We'll see what happens. But she will provide the opinion as to the consistency of the 8 ordinances en banc, as I understand it. But then I will, as always, ruin the fun and ask that you move second and roll call vote with the resolutions provided for each as to whether each ordinance is consistent with the master plan. So we'll have 8 votes, but 1 presentation, and it's time for the presentation.
Thank you, Steve. So I think some of the ordinances related to the projects are somewhat self-explanatory in terms of what they are. The 2 that may or may not be as self-explanatory are the affordable housing ordinance, and I believe that includes the development fee ordinance, right? Yeah. Yes. And those are, you probably have heard of the UHAC, or the Uniform Housing Affordability Controls, which is the state law that regulates housing, affordable housing in the state. And just everything came together all at once. And, we were settling. The state plan was adopted for the first time in 25 years, and UHAC was amended in December 2025. So everything kind of came together. And amongst the things that are part of our settlement agreement is that we had to update existing ordinances that we had, which we have an affordable housing ordinance, we have a development fee ordinance, but we had to update them to reflect this new law, which is similar but different enough to be annoying that you had to really redo these ordinances. The ordinances, to sort of save time, the Affordable Housing Professionals of New Jersey put out a model ordinance, and we just adapted that to Morris Township because it was our understanding that Fair Share Housing Center had signed off on it. So we anticipate that when this does go, it gets filed with the court, that it will be accepted because it's just the model that we adapted. Then again, the rest of them really are all the ordinances for the fourth round sites. One that you may be wondering what is it is the Mount Kimball Avenue redevelopment plan. So this is the old or former Atlantic Health Hospital, whatever. That's on, what is it called? All Souls. On 95 Mount Kimball. This was in the third round plan, and there was a redevelopment plan done at that time. There was a developer at the time who wanted to redevelop it. The plan was written for that developer. If that didn't work out, that was almost 10 years ago. A new developer has come forward. They have their own specifications of what they need in terms of bulk and height. But the important thing to know is that they are still providing the same number of affordable housing units as they were in the third round. So in terms of the development yield of affordable housing units, it is exactly as it was in the third round, which was critical because one of the first things we had to do as part of the fourth round was to see what hadn't been built yet in the third round and address that in some capacity. So the fact that a new developer had come forward and was willing to do the same number of affordable housing units was actually very beneficial to us. But you'll see that, that again, that was a redevelopment area done. It wasn't done by our firm, but it was done about 10 years ago, and then the redevelopment plan was done about 10 years ago. So these are amendments to that to reflect the sort of changing conditions and new sort of requirements of the new developer, the prospective developer.
Which, if I may, were negotiated. Obviously, no one got everything they wanted or anywhere close for that matter, but who was seeking to develop in our township. But they got enough.
But I think honestly, so in terms of consistency, so obviously it's sort of, I think, odd to sort of have a master plan element that has these required ordinances in it and then say, okay, are these ordinances consistent with this element of the master plan? So yes, they are consistent with that. But I wanted to just draw your attention to, and I understand that the master plans, going back to 1973, talks about, preserving the low density residential character of Morris Township with allowing for increased multifamily density in selected areas. And that was something that was in 1973. It was carried through 1994, the last comprehensive plan. And it was again echoed in the 2017 master plan re-exam. And we really actually took that to heart, that these sites were selected. There were different contestants, people who wanted to be in the plan, but that these sites we thought best embodied the appropriate locations for these types of multifamily projects. And so the ordinances reflect our settlement agreement, which reflects the amended housing element and fair share plan. And as I said, we believe that actually it goes back through the years of the township's master plan, that this is consistent with the idea that there, and I will say even this, in 1994, there was some language saying that we understand we have an affordable housing obligation. We're going to address it through as much as we can without having to build new units. It doesn't quite say it that way, but it does essentially say that using the available laws that we can. And I think we also have taken that to the extent that we can. So as we talked about earlier. So my recommendation is that the board can find these ordinances consistent with the master plan, but I'm willing to take questions.
If I could just confirm one thing real quick, Liz. So, Ms. Laney, it's your professional opinion that each and every one of these 8 ordinances is consistent with the township's master plan, including but not limited to the goals and objectives that have been set forth in both our 1973 master plan as well as our 1994 master plan, as well as our most recent 2017 master plan reexamination report. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I have one question,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. So each of these ordinances is written property specific, and each of the ordinances has an associated resolution. As we move forward, are we approving the ordinance and then approving the resolution, or can we approve the ordinance and associated resolution at the same time?
We're not approving the ordinance.
Right. Oh, okay.
That's these folks'
That's
job
up to
next
us.
Monday.
Oh, that's for the
Monday.
We are
township
just
committee.
finding that the
Right.
ordinance as
Is
written is
consistent.
consistent or
Okay,
not.
so
with
we're
the master
really
plan.
only approving the resolutions then?
Yes, we are approving the
Right.
Okay.
resolution.
Just
Right.
wanted to make sure.
No, we do not step into the legislative function of the governing body. And only the governing body, our township committee, adopts
Okay.
ordinances.
Okay, so,
The reason the ordinances, of course, are provided is
Right.
because this is specifically what you are determining is or is not consistent
Right.
with the master plan pursuant to the resolution
and
adopted.
as was mentioned, there were specific dialogue on each site with each associated developer to keep it as close as possible to what is in our current master plan and also what was necessary to make it viable for meeting the affordable housing guidelines.
To the extent practical, yes. I mean, and like I said, certain things we are kicking back to the existing ordinance, specifically the design guidelines.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, Mr. Quinn.
I have a question about the Mount Campbell redevelopment plan. I'm a little confused, and I think I may have missed something. So are we, as part of this meeting tonight, are we opining that this redevelopment plan is consistent with the master plan?
Yeah, and it didn't change the housing plan at all because in the third round, it was 23 units and it's still 23 units. And so there were no changes to the housing plan related to this site. What did change is that the developer needed just some different standards, setbacks, height, et cetera. And so this has to be changed. The redevelopment plan had to be sort of amended. But with regard to our housing plan, it is the same number of units. And so it is, yes, you are being asked to see if it's consistent.
Okay.
But I didn't talk about it earlier because it hadn't changed.
I felt like I missed something.
No,
that had happened previously.
That's my fault for not mentioning it. But nothing had changed with regard to that, so I just didn't talk about it in the housing plan.
And correct, yeah, it was a third round that was modified, but also I neglected to mention that that for that particular one, it's the same exact function, master plan consistency review, but the language comes from the local redevelopment and housing law as opposed to the municipal land use law. I think the phrase is imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. The legislature and the local redevelopment and housing law literally cut and pasted the language from the municipal land use law for master plan consistency review. If I recall correctly, they may have changed the time frame a little bit, or maybe not. Maybe it's the same 35 days. But in any event, it's the same function under a different statute for that one. Probably interesting to anybody, only lawyers who do this. And even then, I'm probably stretching it. Probably not interesting to most.
Okay, and I see that the draft resolution does say that we're finding
Consistent.
the ordinance not inconsistent with the master plan. But do we need to also find the redevelopment plan to be consistent with the master plan?
Another excellent question. The ordinance actually is the redevelopment plan. They're in combination. Basically, the redevelopment plan is part of the ordinance. It has a sort of a preamble, if you will, and then, which I think is 10-26, and then the plan is the amended Mount Campbell Avenue redevelopment plan that is referenced in that preamble. Or should, okay. Yes.
Any other questions?
Can we begin?
Yes. I will entertain a motion to approve a resolution finding ordinance, wait, where did we say? Start with 4-26, consistent with the master plan.
I'll second.
No, I need
You
a
need the
motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we find ordinance 4-26 consistent with the master plan.
Is there a second?
Or not inconsistent?
Well, we're gonna try
No,
to-
this one says consistent.
We talked about
Don't,
it.
don't muddy the water.
Don't put it in the waters, okay?
Yeah.
I second.
Could you call the roll?
Mr. Alessio.
Yes.
Ms. Van Order.
Yes.
Mr. Flowers.
Yes.
Mr. Rabbit.
Yes.
Ms. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Benoit.
Yes.
Mr. Quillen.
Yes.
Ms. Gariglia.
Yes.
Mr. Bai.
Yes.
So carried.
I'd like to make a motion that we find ordinance 5-26 consistent with the master plan.
Second.
Roll?
Everybody should second.
Mr. Alessio.
Yes.
Ms. Van Order.
Yes.
Mr. Flowers.
Yes.
Mr. Rabbit.
Yes.
Ms. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Benoit.
Yes.
Mr. Quillen.
Yes.
Ms. Gariglia.
Yes.
Mr. Bai.
Yes.
Carried.
Moving on to 6-26.
I'd like to make a motion that we find ordinance 6-26 consistent with the master plan.
Second.
Roll?
Mr. Alessio.
Yes.
Ms. Van Order.
Yes.
Mr. Flowers.
Yes.
Mr. Rabbit.
Yes.
Ms. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Benoit.
Yes.
Mr. Quillen.
Yes.
Ms. Gariglia.
Yes.
Mr. Bai.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we find ordinance 7-26 consistent with the master plan.
I'll second.
Yes.
Mr. Alessio.
Wait, the gun hasn't
Try
gone
that
off
again.
yet.
Mr. Alessio.
Yes.
Ms. Van Order.
Yes.
False start.
Mr. Flowers.
Yes.
Mr. Rabbit.
Yes.
Ms. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Benoit.
Yes.
Mr. Quillen.
Yes.
Ms. Gariglia.
Yes.
Mr. Bai.
Yes.
I make a motion we find ordinance 8-26 consistent with the master plan.
I'll second that one.
Mr. Alessio.
Yes.
Ms. Van Order.
Yes.
Mr. Flowers.
Yes.
Mr. Rabbit.
Yes.
Ms. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Benoit.
Yes.
Mr. Quillen.
Yes.
Ms. Gariglia.
Yes.
Mr. Bai.
Yes.
I make a motion we find ordinance 9-26 consistent with the master plan.
I'll second.
Mr. Alessio.
Yes.
Ms. Van Order.
Yes.
Mr. Flowers.
Yes.
Mr. Rabbit.
Yes.
Ms. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Benoit.
Yes.
Mr. Quillen.
Yes.
Ms. Gariglia.
Yes.
Mr. Bai.
Yes.
I make a motion we find ordinance 10-26 consistent with the master plan.
I'll second that.
Mr. Alessio.
I still, could we have a little discussion here? Because I'm still confused. I may have to abstain. Because I still really do not understand.
Abstain.
So we are, is this okay that, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, go ahead.
So the ordinance contains the redevelopment plan. Mr. Warner, that's what you,
The
that's what
amended
you said?
redevelopment plan, yeah.
Yes. So where does it say that?
Where the ordinance?
Yes.
As always, there's a lot of whereases, but when you get to section 2, the amended Mount Campbell Avenue redevelopment plan, prepared by Phillips Price, et cetera, a copy of which is annexed here to a part of this ordinance, is hereby adopted by ultimately by the Township Committee in accordance with section 7 of the local redevelopment and housing.
Okay. And if I look at the prior whereas, the last whereas in the list of whereases, it says the planning board transmitted to the Township Committee a report containing the master plan finding that the amended redevelopment plan is not inconsistent with the master plan. So that happened, that should have happened before this ordinance.
Well, no, that's an expectation. In other words, the way the ordinance has to be drafted is as if it's coming up to the governing body for adoption. So it has to, in essence, presume that you found it to be not inconsistent or affirmatively consistent in the body of the ordinance. In order for the governing body, for the township committee to be able to have what it needs to adopt. So you kind of have to think a little in the future, so to speak.
And that's what our resolution, is on the ordinance. Oh, okay. I'm satisfied.
Yay.
We are roll call.
Roll call, yes. We have,
We did get the motion.
we got the motion in the second, yes.
Yes.
Ms. Van Order?
Yes.
Mr. Flowers?
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz?
Yes.
Ms. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Benoit?
Yes.
Mr. Quillen?
Yes.
Ms. Griglia?
Yes.
Mr. Bai?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we find ordinance 11-26 consistent with the master plan.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Lesson?
Yes.
Ms. Van Order?
Yes.
Mr. Flowers?
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz?
Yes.
Ms. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Benoit?
Yes.
Mr. Quillen?
Yes.
Ms. Griglia?
Yes.
Mr. Bai?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, concludes that. Do we have anything from the legislative committee?
Just, yeah, real quick. We did have, as I had mentioned at the last planning board meeting, I think it was the last one, we did have two applications for a cannabis business. And we did bring both applicants in for presentation, and we did have both, and three members up here on this planning board are part of the Cannabis Advisory Committee, and we will be talking about this in amongst the Township Committee before our next Township Committee meeting. Updates, if there are any after that.
Yep.
But I'm sorry, I missed the first part. The applicants were for what?
Cannabis. Cannabis. We have,
Detail.
Oh,
we had two applications.
Oh.
For good tail.
We only got two applications. We had put it out there, thought we might get more, but we got two. So
okay,
they came in, we've listened to them.
okay.
But we're in the middle of relaying that to the other township committee members. And then we'll see what happens.
We'll either approve 0 or 1, most likely.
Okay. Good luck.
Okay, any comments from the public? Yes, please.
All right.
You've been very patient. So,
Went by faster than I thought it was going to.
your name and address, please.
Julie Winter, 210 Mount Kimball Ave. I just have a comment more on the lines where you're talking about what can we do to affect the aesthetics of all the development. I'm not opposed to affordable housing. I do feel that we need it. But I'd like to make a comment about our neighbor, Harding Township, how shrewd they are. They passed an ordinance that they couldn't extend Blackwell Ave, thereby landlocking the property that's being built right now, forcing us to use our land. Can't say that I don't disagree with it. That's the least amount of affecting the person's home, but it was shrewd on their part. They changed the speed limit on Sand Spring Road to 25, forcing everybody to go down Harder Road. That I do object to. But one thing that they're doing as far as affordable housing, they're building them themselves, and they're getting 100% credit. Have we thought about doing that? I mean, that's huge. I think I read an article that they were supposed to build 216, and they only have to build 75. And are you guys not aware of that?
I thought they were building 96.
Well, I'm not personally aware of exactly what every municipality, including Harding Township, is doing. However, if it's 100% affordable housing, then you do not, unlike inclusionary housing, for example, we have a 100% affordable housing project on Ketch Road. That's part of the third round settlement.
Well, I think they're doing a combination. They are doing some like the farm. That's 100% affordable housing on Kitchell and Woodland. And they're cute. and they had a lot of control over the aesthetics. Why couldn't we do something like that?
Well, the fact of the matter is, most municipalities
I like her.
decide not to be in the business of affordable housing.
Right?
And they may or may not be aware of the downsides for them as a municipality. That's their issue. But as far as 100% affordable housing, we avail ourselves of that when we can, so as to get 1 for 1 as opposed to 5 for 1, so to speak. But otherwise, we really can't speak to what they're doing in other townships.
Well,
And-
I'm just bringing that as example. Have we looked into it? Have we done our due diligence? I mean, I think it's a great idea.
Well, also, some of the money that's in the funds that might support development like that was used for the extension of affordability, which serves kind of the same purpose as you're not, whatever you're spending, you're not having to build 5 units to get 1, you're getting that 1 unit. So, it's another way to use that, some of the funding that might go to if we were building it ourselves, but I'll let.
No, that's an excellent point, Mr. Chairman. The extension of affordability control is better than 1 unit, 1 credit for 1 unit. It's 1 credit for no units, because it's 1 credit for extending the
Good point.
affordability of an existing unit for another period of time. Maybe that's an idea that Harding should learn. But with all due respect to our neighboring municipality, and I mean that. But also, it may be, and I'm not certain of this, I don't have personal knowledge. Maybe we should all check it out. But it may be that their plan that they proposed is being challenged, and it may be that their plan did not survive judicial scrutiny. So we may all want to double check that.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, I think it was that they were getting pushed back. But the latest I heard, it was,
we read things in places, and sometimes they're even true. But sometimes they're only true for a period of time. And sometimes things change and they become no longer true. So it may be that their plan may not have withstood judicial scrutiny already.
well, and I understand that, some of the builders, like Toll Brothers, they were pushing back. Of course, they have a lot to lose.
Right.
But Harding has a lot to gain by keeping the rural nature of their community, which is, I think most of Morris Township would like to keep it that way too. And I don't know how hard we're trying to keep that.
Our township's plan was approved by the court. It wasn't reversed.
Well, okay. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. We have, I guess, seeing no other members of the public, we'll close the public session. We have no need for closed session, do not believe, so I will entertain.
I make the motion, we adjourn.
Oh, Joe, we missed you.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.